You.
You got everything?
Yeah.
You need water?
Once we got to the real downtown part, too, it was really packed. Everybody was very amiable, too. This morning we'll be continuing our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 48th chapter, and we will be reading verse 10. I don't think we'll go into 11, but just in case. And we're actually finishing up the pastime of Krishna returning to see. Krishna returns to fulfill the desire of Kubja, and we won't be reading today, but after that, he'll go to Akrura, and we know that when Krishna first came into Mathura with his friends and was walking along the street, it was Akrura that had brought him from Vrindavan and wanted him to come to his house, and he put it on hold, and then it was Kubja who gave him the ointments. So we'll continue reading about her and having some reflections. Jayarad Amad Ava Gunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Irivarit Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Irivarit Hari. Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Balava Girivadit Hari Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Vallabha Girivadit Hari Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giddy Govardhan. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Papagacharya Astotara Satoshi Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Bindi ki jai. Namacharya Surdas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Bindi ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavana Dham ki jai. Shri Mathura Dham ki jai. Shri Gokul Dham ki jai. Shri Dwarka Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Shri Navadvip Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Jagannatha Swami ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Brindi ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tasyai Kama Param Tattva. Tasyai Kama Param Tattva. Tasyai Kama Param Tattva. Manayitva Cha Mana Daha. Manayitva Cha Mana Daha. Manavitatva Cha Mana Daha. Sahodatvena Sarveshaha. Sahodatvena Sarveshaha. Sahodatvena Sarveshaha. Swa Damagavad Vidimat Swadamagamat Ridimat. Tasyai Kamavaram Tattva. Maniatvita Chamanadaha. Sahodapavena Sarveshaha. Swadamagamat Ridimat. Devotees, Tasyai Kamavaram Tattva. Manatyadva Chamanada. Sahodatmen Sarvesha. Swadamagamat Didimat. Tasyai Kamavaram Tattva. Manyadvitva Chamanada. Sahodvatmen Sarvesha. Swadamagamad Vidimat. Tasyai Kamavaram Tattva. Manyaiva Chamanida Sodavena Sarvesha Samanagamat Vidima. Anyone else? Tasyai, to her, kama, of material desires, but her benediction, tattva, granting, manayitva, showing her respect, cha, end, manadaha, he gives respect to others, saha udavena, together with Uttava, sarva ishaha, the Lord of all beings, swa, to his own, dhamma, residence, agamat, went, ridimat, supremely opulent. Translation. Promising her the fulfillment of this lusty desire. Considerate Krishna, Lord of all beings, paid Chivikara his respects and then returned with Uttava to his own supremely opulent residence. So you can repeat, promising her the fulfillment of this lusty desire. Considerate Krishna, Lord of all beings, pay Chivikara his respects and then returned with Uttava to his own supremely opulent residence. Purport by his disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All the acharyas agree that the words kama varam dattva indicate that Lord Krishna promised Chivikara he would fulfill her lusty desires. Om Agena Timidandasya Gena Gena Shalakaya Chaksu Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the devotees, unto Shri Gurudev, unto just and all the assembled devotees, and pray to Srila Prabhupada that I can, and my spiritual master, that I can reflect on this in a way that is favorable and helps to open up more of this particular pastime. And we are going to be reading the commentaries here. The first thing that, when I read this also, that popped out to me was how Krishna is considered to be very considerate. And he takes into account what is the desire within the heart of every living being. And not only does he take that into his heart, but he has a way of purifying the desire within the heart. And when we read this, it brings to my mind, of course, the famous story of Putana, how, Putana wanted to take the life air and from Krishna and give poison, and for Krishna to leave his body. But she offered her milk like a mother. And Krishna was like, oh, like a mother. And she did have some desire in her previous life to have Krishna as a child. We know that's pastime. But then she was so upset because Krishna, coming in the form of Vamana, the dwarf, had actually what she considered cheated Bali, who was her relative. So in that way, she had developed this enmity. But because she offered her milk like a mother, Krishna purified her when he took out her life air instead of him taking the life air of Krishna. Krishna purified her, and then she actually was given a position as like a wet nurse in the spiritual world. So Krishna reciprocates with all living entities, and he takes into consideration what are their desires and how to purify those desires. So we've been reading many verses that Kumja's desire was she felt very lusty towards Krishna. She was attracted. But how would she not be attracted to Krishna? Krishna attracts every living entity, even the birds and the trees, and every living entity is attractive to Krishna because he's all attractive. But because she had contamination in her heart, her desire for Krishna was covered in a materialistic way. And so it wasn't a pure desire, but Krishna accepted, as we read, accepted the offering of wonderful sense that she gave. And in that way, he straightened her up. And not only did he straighten up her external appearance, but he straightened up her mentality. So I'm going to read the commentary by Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur and then continue. Kamabara Datta gave her the desired benedictions means that he gave her full satisfaction of enjoyment, and that he kept his promise on first meeting her that he would fulfill her request even though she was a common woman. Having fulfilled her desire and taking her permission, Manatvira, saying that he could not stay with her continuously and enjoy because of local gossip, he left. He left with Uddhava in order to prevent gossip, since Uddhava was famous as having the best famous everywhere. They leave mistakes sometimes, and having the best conduct. From previous explanations, it should be understood that she was an expansion of the Lord's Bhushakti. So here we think like Krishna, he's concerned about reputation. Well, we know when he comes as Lord Ram, he's very concerned about reputation. He's so concerned about reputation that he sends Sita away, and she's pregnant. I mean, that's a part of the Ramayana that we don't like. And even the gopis, they chastise Krishna. Oh, you were so mean. You sent away Sita. But here we see that Krishna is concerned. It's maybe an excuse, but he's also concerned with reputation because in Vrindavan, Krishna's a cowherd boy, and the gopis are cowherd girls. And they're all of the same family, so to speak. And they're also Krishna's expansions. They're his internal energy. They're non-different than Krishna. We can't understand these things, so we just hear with folded hands. So, and he is concerned with reputation too. That's why they do things sneakily and hide. But here, it's like Krishna was in a common woman. He's in a place he's not supposed to be. Just like, let's say, we were on Harinam, or on the Rath Yatra, and Srila Gurudev was really, really thirsty, and he had to get some water, and there was nowhere else. And so, let's say he went into some place, and it was a bar, or he went in there to preach to get some water, and everybody would gossip. What is this? I saw Bear Krishna Maharaj. They'd be taking pictures. So then he might take Drista along with him, because people trust Drista. Like Krishna took Uddhava with him. They know, oh, Drista's an upstanding citizen. Bear Krishna Maharaj is with Drista. So Krishna was like covering his bases by bringing Uddhava with him. And at the same time, Krishna, he felt like he needed to reciprocate because she had asked to him and he promised her. But here it explains that she was an expansion of the Lord's Bhushakti. So the Bhushakti is actually, Bhu also is the earth and had been actually married to Varaha, because when the earth fell into the water, in one of the different pastimes, the Lord Boar came and lifted the earth up. But Bhushakti is also, when I looked it up, is considered to be like the external material energy. And we see that Kubja keeps being related to as being her desires are material. And it's explained that we know from when Gurudev gives the pastimes a lot of balaji and how there's Bu and Shri. And if you go to the Venkateshwar temple, you'll see there's Balaji, and then there's Bu and there's Shri, each on a different side. And there's a whole pastime, which we're not going to tell now, about how when Lakshmi leaves and then Vishnu becomes a pauper and he's searching everywhere, where is Lakshmi? And then he runs into Padmavati, who actually is explained to also have been one of the Maya Sitas in the Ramayana. And then he ends up, with her. Anyway, it's a whole pastime, how they become deities. So that's not the main conversation here, but we see there's a difference between Bu Shakti and Ladini Shakti, the internal energy of the Lord. So we also understand here too how, being that she is an expansion of the Lord's Bu Shakti, when before Krishna had killed Kamsa, she was very bent in many places because of the burden of the earth. And then Krishna accepted the different ointments and wonderful fragrances that were meant for Kamsa, but obviously they were meant for Krishna because they were so beautiful. And he smeared it on his body, and he smeared it on the body of his cowherd boys. And he was very, 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 very grateful, because not only did she do service for him, but it was also to Balaram and the cowherd boys. And so then Krishna straightened her up. And, this straightening up of her is also showing that Krishna coming and the killing of Kamsa and the different other Asura kings would be the taking off the burden of the earth. So she was bent over from the burden of the demons. So Jiva Goswami 10:48:10, he gave her the boon she desires, Kamavaram. I will come and enjoy with you. This shows that she did not have the pure prema of the gopis. So it is explained, because I looked actually, normally when I'm going to give a class on these chapters, I look in Krishna book to see what Prabhupada is speaking about. And then I also look in Gopal Champu, because I just love how things are explained there. So it's very interesting. It's like one or two sentences. Like Jiva Goswami doesn't really want to talk about, okay, now we're gonna finish up with Kubja and we're gonna move ahead. And he said, because this is, he even says, it wasn't spoken about because it's not something that would be spoken about in amongst different audiences, because it wasn't pure. It wasn't the pure love of the gopis. There was because there's some materialistic desire there, so we're not going to speak about it. So I was surprised to see that in the Gopal Champu. Very little is mentioned. It's like two sentences. So getting back to the point, it is also explained there, and explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that actually this pastime that Krishna has with Kubja, it actually is to glorify the pure love of the gopis of Vrindavan. So when there's something that appears to be materialistic or appears not to be pure, it's actually a service that Kubja is doing, because the comparison shows what is the difference between someone who was attracted to Krishna but wanted to enjoy for themselves and someone who just wanted to serve Krishna. And our Srila Prabhupada, I was listening to a class yesterday, and Srila Prabhupada was saying how devotional service is meant to be pure, executed purely with no material desire. And Yabilashita Sunyam, he was speaking that. And he was saying that we have to always just think, what am I doing that's pleasing? how is this pleasing to Krishna? And then he said, but of course, you might say, how do I know what's pleasing to Krishna? And Prabhupada said, we know it's pleasing to Krishna by following the instructions of the spiritual master. He said, so we have to actually be thinking, how can I please my spiritual master? Is this pleasing to him or not? And then Prabhupada gave the example of like Yudhisthira Maharaj, that he was so attached to being honest and never telling a lie, that when Krishna told him to say that Aswatthama has been killed to go, he refused to lie because he thought his own moral principle was higher. And he said, in Arjuna, although in the beginning Arjuna didn't want to fight, he didn't want to hurt his relatives, but in the end he surrendered to what Krishna's desire was, and he pleased Krishna. So he said that his devotion was even stronger. So he gave that as an example. And then Prabhupada jumped to the gopis, and he said, he gave the story that we always hear, how when Krishna had a headache, he was in Dwarka, and he had a headache, and they sent all the Ayurvedic doctors, and nobody could cure it. And everybody was so much concerned. Krishna has a headache, and he's not even coming out of his room. What are we going to do? So then finally Krishna said, the only cure for my headache is the dust from the feet of my devotees upon my head. So he told this, and then Narada started going asking, and the queens, because they were in the Sakya Ras, not Sakya, I mean the married Ras. They're thinking that Krishna is their husband. He's my pati. There's no way that I can take the dust from my feet. It's because they're in Swakya. It's not Paramore. So Krishna is my husband. I'm his wife. There's rules and regulations. They said, if we give it, we'll go to hell. So they refused. And Narada Muni went to different places. Nobody was going to give the dust. And then he went to the gopis of Vrindavan, who were actually feeling, at that point, they're feeling so much separation from Krishna. Krishna's been gone, and we've been reading how Uddhava went, and how the gopis were just in so much anxiety, missing Krishna. But when Narada Muni came and he said Krishna has a headache, they're like, oh my gosh, Krishna has a headache. They weren't thinking about themselves. What can we do? How can we help? And then Krishna says the only thing that will cure him is a dust from the lotus feet of the devotees. So immediately they started taking the dust, and they had a lot of dust because they go barefoot in Braj, They had a lot of dust. Of course it's Braj dust, but still. And so then Narada Muni tested them. Aren't you concerned that you're going to go to hell? Taking the dust from your feet and putting it on Krishna's head. And they said, we don't care. If Krishna's headache goes away and Krishna is happy, we don't care, because that is our happiness. And if Krishna is suffering, that is the worst thing in the world. So they weren't concerned. They happily gave the dust from their feet. So Prabhupada uses this as a comparison between the attraction in this material world and pure love. Now, at the same time, we shouldn't just become discouraged, but I don't have pure love. I still want to fulfill desires. What do I do, And we also have the example of Dhruva Maharaj, who performed so many austerities, severe austerities, because he wanted a kingdom better than his grandfather's kingdom, and he was upset how he was treated by his stepmother. And, but then when he sees the Lord and the Lord touches his head and recites prayers, he's like, oh my God, I just wanted broken glass. And I remember when we had the play and our sweet little Abhimanyu was playing Dhruva, it was so sweet, because afterwards he just sat down and he was crying, What did I do? The Lord was right in front of me and I lost him. So he was hankering, I've lost the Lord. And here we see that Krishna's not going to stay long with Kubja. He went, he fulfilled her desire, and he says, I have to go on now, because he had business. He met Kubja when he first came to town, and now Kamsa's, been killed, and his role is very different now. He's not a coward boy anymore. Now Krishna has become, a prince, and he has a lot of responsibilities and management and things to do. When he first met Kubja and the washerman, he was just coming from Vrindavan with his friends. So he was still in that very joyful, playful Braj mood. But now it's very different. It's serious business going on. And he has to think of his reputation. He has to think of the reputation of his family. He doesn't want gossip. And then it explains that also that he brought Uddhava with him because Uddhava is very respectful. So we'll continue. Yate sujata charaburam staneshu pita shanai priya tadimahi karakeshu tenatvim atasi tabhate nakim swayit kurpala ber brahmati dir babat ayusham naha. O dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds therefore are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest paths. This is from 10:31:19. The gopis' happiness was caused by Krishna's happiness, but still he accepted Kubja, though there were thousands of Lakshmis in Mathura. This was his supreme mercy. The cause of his mercy is explained. He was Manadaha. He gave her respect. So we can understand, even if we are full of material desires, even if we are overwhelmed with disturbance of the mind and the senses, still we should take shelter of Krishna and take shelter of our spiritual master and try to render a little devotional service. Like I was thinking about Kubja, she offered those ointments. So when we make the sandalwood paste, it seems like we're just doing something simple. But if we have the right consciousness, what good fortune it is to make the sandalwood paste and place the tulsi manjaris on the Lord's feet. What good fortune it is to offer a Q-tip with perfume to the deities. So all the activities that Srila Prabhupada has given us in devotional service under his guidance, under the guidance of his spiritual master, these are not ordinary activities. And if we do these activities, praying to have the proper consciousness and remembering the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, we'll become purified. I find that so many times, my mind will go in so many directions because in Kali Yuga, the minds are very disturbed. But as soon as I start listening, it changes my consciousness. Like the other day, I was listening to the Gurudev's audio on the Pearl story. And I've heard it before, but like just listening and the pastimes with Radha and Krishna and the trickery that goes on, and it just lifts your consciousness completely, and then you feel enthusiastic. I do want to serve, Just as he came with Uddhava, he left with Uddhava. Following custom, he went with Uddhava, fixed in the highest principle of Dharma, in order to avoid criticism from the public. So he was concerned. He was going to a common woman. People are going to criticize. It'll affect his parents. It'll affect, his service. Actually, he went with Uddhava because he had great affection for Uddhava. So it says the reality is he has so much affection for Uddhava. Uddhava just came back from Vrindavan. Uddhava was just with the gopis. He sent Uddhava to even experience this love. So being with Uddhava was actually like an Udipana too, because Uddhava just came from Vrindavan. He was carrying with him that Braj Prem, that nobody else around had it. Following custom, he went with Uddhava because he had great affection for Uddhava. He went to Vasudeva's inner apartment. He did all of this according to his own desire for pastimes, since he was the Lord of all beings, Savesha. That place was endowed with a wealth, ridimat, of all objects to be used in service by all of devotees. Therefore, it was a suitable place to go. This is a very interesting point that just comes up now. There is a story in Mathura Hari Vamsa. In a previous life, Kubja was a princess. She developed attraction for Krishna by hearing his qualities being glorified by Narada. Later, the king asked Narada for a suitable groom for her. He said, I will ask the princess, who does she desire? When asked, she said, I want the person whom you glorified as the supreme to be my husband. When Narada said that it was impossible, she said, I will marry him after millions of births. Hearing that, Narada taught her a way to attain Krishna as her husband, and she performed austerities for a long time. Then a voice from the sky said, you will be the hunchback Kubja in your next life, and by my touch become beautiful. Then I will be your husband. Then she was born in a merchant's house belonging to Kamsa's best minister, and Kamsa assigned her to supply fragrances to him. So in this particular account, which is in another millennium, she is the daughter of someone who is a minister for Kamsa. Thus she attained mercy by offering him fragrance as expressed in verse 8, or this history may be from a different day of Brahma. So we see a lot of times, even like in the pastime of Lord Varaha, there's different things that take place at different times or different millenniums, and that's why we can't become hung up on, well, it says this, and I've heard this story, and this is what it's about. Because, first of all, things in the Bhagavatam and the different scriptures, they don't just go linear by linear. And they're meant to teach us something. So there's many lessons here in the pastime of Kubja for all of us. And, I mean, one, we see the beauty of the pure love of the gopis of Vrindavan. And then we see that even if we have some material contamination and we offer a little service to Krishna, how Krishna will become indebted to his devotee. And we also see how Krishna carries out his promise. And the spiritual master, as the representative of Krishna, carries out his promise. So Srila Prabhupada has also given us like what seems like, a child approach in Kali Yuga to devotional life, But if we follow his instructions, he's promised us. So this is the mercy of Krishna and his devotees. And it's so important to hear these pastimes, not in a mood of challenge, but with folded hands, with a mood of devotion, and pray that they're like a zip file, that they will open up within our heart, and we will have more realization of what we're meant to learn. So the next verse talks about Kubja, and then that's it. You won't hear about her again. So we don't know what happens to Kubja afterwards. Obviously, she's given her heart and her love to Krishna, and Krishna's always with the devotees. So we can't speculate. But we see so much how, like in the story of Haridas Thakur and the prostitute, how she came there to order to actually cause Haridas to fall down. But just by hearing the holy name from a pure devotee, which is none different than Krishna, then she became purified, and she became a pure devotee and dedicated her life. So this is the potency of then hearing Hare Katha, the association, and she became a pure devotee. Hare Krishna, and dedicated her life. So this is the potency of hearing Hare Katha and the association. And thank you very much, Hare Krishna. By your mercy, Drista. By your mercy, Drista.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ayam Kanvanta Maravinda Dalayatan Marhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundaram Nandar Tako Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Anmani Jasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Asyan Vivan Vikayanti Priya Priti Ravanti Ananda Maya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusham
Adi Purusham. Adi Purusham. Namago Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Mutalai Namago Vishnu Padaya Zamini Dinamine Shimate Bhaktivedantagam Zamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachar Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachar Shunyavani Pachar Kesacharane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gadara Siva Sadi Prabhu Nityananda Vrinda Advaita Gadara Siva Sadi Gaur Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Advaita Chaitanya Shiva Sade Gauranga Vrinda Shiva Sade Gauranga Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shiva Sade Gauranga Krishna Chaitanya Krishna Krishna Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shiva Sade Gauranga Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare Rama Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Goloka Nana, Goloka Nana, Radha. Jaya Radha, Goloka Nana, Radha. Goloka Nana, Goloka Nana, Radha. Radha, Goloka Nana, Radha. Hey, Radha, Jaya Radha, hey, Radha, Jaya Radha, Radha, hey, Radha, Jaya Sri Radhe, Jai Om Vishnupad, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe, Jai Om Vishnupad.
Vapanam Shreya Kairagya Chandrika Vidaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Ananda Bhavanam Shreya Kairagya Chandrika Vidaranam Sarvatma Snapanam Paramijayate Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Tatra Pita Niyamita Smarane Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Bhagavan Mamapi Pita Durdaya Midrishami Hajanina Etad Drishita Vakripada Pisunichena Durgayavamishunami Amanina Manadena Kirtanada Hari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kame Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kribayata Vabada Pankaja Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Nayanam Garashudaya Kribayata Vabada Pankaja Pulagarnishitam Vapukaya Tavanamagraha Nevavishyati Yugayatam Nivishena Chakshusha Vashayata Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindayatam Rahename Ashlisha Vapadam Vinastumam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Yatatata Vavinatolam Ashlisha Vapadam Vinastumam Adarshana Victory to the Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean transcendental bliss, because it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are all. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. Oh, my Lord, it congregational chanting of your holy name alone, and enables us to fully taste the nectar living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and chanting in the holy name alone. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. Thus you have they're not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach your transcendental energies. They're not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to thinking oneself all respect to others. In such a state of more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, Son of nor do I want any number of followers. I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I fall after birth and death. Oh, Son of Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the servitor, lotus feet. Somehow or other oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice look up? Oh, my Lord, when will my body stand on end tears of love flowing constantly when I chant Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like Govinda, torrents of rain, feeling your separation. I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted no one but Krishna is my Lord. And he is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Shastika Ki Jai.